Hello everyone, this is Keith from the Solo Gamers Club and welcome to my channel. Tonight I'm going to introduce to the viewers the game Police Precinct 2nd Edition from Common Man Games. In this video we'll take a look at the board, cards, and components of the game. Then we'll set up the game, including the special setup for the expansions and variants that I'll be using later during the playthrough. Next we'll conduct a playthrough of the game, and I'll follow that up with some thoughts on the component quality, gameplay and mechanics, theme, and overall fun factor. In Police Precinct, we'll take on the role of a law enforcement officer in the mythical city of Commonville. A high-profile murder has occurred in the parking lot of the Tolliday Arms Apartments, located on the corner of 4th and Calhoun Avenue. At the request of the mayor, the chief of police has formed a special task force, and he's placed you in charge to head the murder investigation and swiftly bring the perpetrator to justice. To make matters worse, the victim has been identified as the wealthy industrialist Preston A. Booth, a personal friend of the state governor, making this a high-profile case that will be scrutinized by the press. We'll need to solve this ASAP. However, this couldn't have come at a worse time, as the city is experiencing a startling spike in crime and gang activity, and the taxpayers will not stand for a crime wave sweeping across the streets. To win the game, we'll need to catch the murderer and keep the crime rate in the city from ballooning out of control. We will lose if any of the following conditions exist. Number 1, the murderer escapes, leaving the board without being arrested. Number 2, the calendar reaches turn 22. Number 3, the city crime track moves to the fail space. To begin the setup, we lay out the board in the center of the table. The board has two sides, the standard side and a more difficult and seedier layout of the town known as the Unterbelly. It is recommended that we use the standard side of the board until we gain more experience with the game. The board is divided into 6 city blocks along with the Commonville Professional District in the city center. Each of the numbered blocks is labeled inside the dumpster icon, which is located at the lower left or southwest corner of each block. Within the blocks are the industrial, commercial, municipal, and residential locations that form the city. Streets are divided into road and intersection locations. Vehicles always occupy road locations, never intersections, and intersections are not counted during movement. Next, we place the murder investigation board and the city crime track nearby. We place the crime marker in the leftmost space of the track. We will instantly lose the game if the crime marker ever reaches the cop's fail box. Now we consult the setup chart to determine the starting space for the calendar marker. As we are playing a solitaire game, we place it on space 1 on the calendar track. Consulting the same chart, we take 14 punk tokens from the supply and place them near the board. I like to store the active components on the crime board. Next, we take a player aid from the box and place it in front of us. This will provide us with the sequence of play and an overview of the player actions that are available to the officers. Then we take 4 patrol officer tokens from the supply and place them at the police station. Patrol officers will aid us in making arrests during the game. Now we shuffle all the investigation cards separately and place them as follows. We begin by placing the Examine Body deck at the morgue. Then we place the Crime Scene deck on the parking lot. Next, we're going to roll a d6, and we're going to place the murder weapon deck on a warehouse within the city block number that we just rolled. Then we'll roll another d6, and we're going to place the interview witness deck on the apartment within the city block number we just rolled. Next, we're going to shuffle the event deck, and we're going to draw 2 random emergency cards to form the initial active emergencies. We're going to place each card on the board as instructed by the card itself. We're going to disregard any non-emergency cards, meaning special events, memos, and incident reports, and we'll continue to draw until we have 2 emergencies revealed. If the 2 emergencies are the same color, we're going to place an urgent marker on the first emergency drawn. Our first emergency is a red-backed emergency, and it's titled Internet Hacker. We're going to roll a random apartment building and place that emergency in that location. In this case, we've rolled a 4, so we'll place that Internet Hacker emergency at the Tolliday Arms Apartments. Now, this emergency has what is known as an unknown circumstance. We have a collection of unknown circumstance tokens. We shuffled those, and we're going to place 1 on top of this card. This will change the dynamics of the emergency after we have committed any support to solving the emergency. That token will be revealed, and it will make some change to the situation. Our other emergency is a yellow-backed emergency called Rioting Gang. That is going to occur at the morgue in Block 1. We're instructed to take 3 punk tokens from the supply and place them on the card. If any of the emergencies are Add Punks emergencies, which are indicated with a punk symbol in the upper right-hand corner, we're going to roll a die for each punk indicated and place it in the bad hood of the block specified by the roll. Now we're going to roll 6 dice, and we're going to place 1 punk token in the bad hood of each block indicated by the roll. When 4 punks are in the same place, a gang is formed. Gangs are not allowed to be formed during setup, so if a roll would place a 4th punk in a block, we're going to re-roll the die and place it in another block which contains 2 or fewer punks. In the solo game, we'll be operating 2 characters. We either select or randomly choose the characters. In this case, I have randomly selected Detective James Kirkland and Sergeant Lisa Costello. Detective Kirkland's special SWAT commander ability will have him start the game with 2 SWAT tokens. That's going to allow him to play those SWAT tokens and roll 2 extra dice in solving any emergency. I've randomly determined that Detective Kirkland will be our first player, and I've assigned him the first player marker. Then we place each officer's patrol car in front of the police station on 3rd Avenue. In addition, we place a support vehicle, an SV, in the same location. This is used during the solo play to assist our officers in their duties. The SV can be moved by each character during their turn. This vehicle is a mark squad, thus allowing it a movement value of 3. As we will be using the Heat expansion, we're going to shuffle the gear and specialist decks and place them near the crime track. Next, we consult the Heat setup chart and choose a challenge level. This will adjust the number of punks in play, punks added to the board, emergencies added, and police cards removed from the players. As I'm looking for slightly harder challenge, we're going to select the red challenge. That means we're going to need to remove 2 punks from the supply, and we're going to add 2 punks to the board. and randomly discard one police card from each character. So, per the Heat setup card, we must remove 2 punks from the supply. This lowers the total number of punks in the game from 14 to 12. Although this sounds good, it actually makes the game more difficult, as we have fewer punks to place before causing a rise to the crime track. This represents that the public has a lower tolerance for street crimes and gang activities. Now we need to add 2 punks to the setup. We roll 2d6, getting a result of 2 and 3. We place a punk in Bad Hood 2 and another in Bad Hood 3. Bad Hood 3 is only 1 punk away from forming a gang. This will undoubtedly be one of our top priorities during the opening stages of the game. Finally, we must randomly discard 1 police card from each officer. This completes the additional setup for the Heat expansion. In addition, I'll be using the Madman expansion, and I've decided to employ 2 of those cards. These will significantly make the game harder for the players. I randomly chose 2 Madman events, and I add them to the event deck. Subsequently, I remove the corresponding standard events from those locations and place them at the side of the board for future use. We'll also be using the Dirty Bomb expansion and the Rioting Gangs expansion. Those cards are added to the event deck. Now the event deck is complete, we're going to shuffle that deck and place it near the board. We'll also be employing the Lying Politicians expansion. In order to utilize this expansion, we separate the cards by their difficulty levels. We shuffle each of those decks, and then we take the indicated number of cards from each deck, forming the Lying Politicians deck. After that's done, we're going to shuffle all those cards together to create the deck. A card from this deck is drawn each time a reward is issued during the game. In addition, in this playthrough, I'll be adding several user-created rules to make the game even more challenging. We'll go through those now. First one is called the Arresting the Murderer variant. In the standard game, the murderer can be arrested in the same manner as a street punk. He counts as 2 street punks for that total support level. But in this expansion, it's going to require a roll of 6 to arrest him. Street punks in the block must all be arrested before using a 6 result to apprehend the murderer. Another variant is the Thematic Witness Deck variant. Once the first witness is located from the Interview Witness deck, we're going to roll a die and place the remaining Interview Witness cards in the apartment indicated by the roll, just as we did during the setup. The roll may result in the deck remaining in the existing location. This is to simulate the chance that the second witness may live in a different location of town. Our next variant is the Hospital variant. If an officer is sent to the hospital following a failed arrest attempt or as a condition of a failed emergency, we move their vehicle to the street space in front of the hospital and roll a d6. On a result of 1 to 4, he sustains a minor injury and discards 2 police cards if possible. On a roll of 5, he sustains a moderate injury, requiring him to discard 2 police cards, and then to discard 1 upgrade if possible. Finally, with a result of 6, he has sustained a serious injury. He must discard 2 police cards, 1 upgrade, and he'll lose his next turn. We place a blocked token on his vehicle. If we sustained a moderate or serious injury, we're unable to assist the other players, and we may not play or gain police cards until we're released to active duty. If we sustained a serious injury, we remove the block token from our vehicle at the start of our next turn, and then we may resume our normal steps of the player turn, beginning with the following turn. Our last variant is the Murder MO variant. In the rules as written, the murderer enters the map on turn 16 and is placed in block 6. In this variant, the murderer's modus operandi will be determined with a D6 roll, according to the Murderer MO table. At the start of turn 16, we're going to roll a D6 and consult the chart, using the initial starting locations column to place the murderer on the board. Each turn thereafter, we're going to make a D6 roll each time the calendar track moves. This will determine the murderer's MO for the coming turn, and we'll be using the turn 17 to 21 column. We'll follow the indicated instructions. If the murderer's MO causes him to move off board, the players will lose the game. The game is now set, and our first player is ready to take his turn. Note that the crime track is advanced one step towards the fail condition each time one of the following occurs. Number 1, street punks cannot be placed when required. Number 2, a street gang is formed but none are available. Number 3, the urgent marker is removed from an unsolved emergency. And finally, number 4, the event deck is emptied. We're ready to begin play. Our first player is Detective James Kirkland. Now let's take a closer look at him. He has the abilities listed on the right-hand side of his card. Those numbers tell us how many dice or draws that we're able to get dependent on the type of action we're attempting to participate in. The top one with the magnifying glass is a investigation that allows him to draw 2 cards when he's investigating looking for evidence. The handcuffs indicate that he gets 1 die when attempting to arrest street punks, and the emergency light, he has a 1 there. When he handles emergencies, he's able to draw or roll 1 die. So those are the strengths that he has. Obviously, he's very good at investigating. Now he has this intuition ability, which is extremely powerful, and that's before drawing an event card. He can look at the top card and then decide whether it's going to be placed back on the top or the bottom. This gives us the ability to determine whether or not we're going to accept an event card or put it on the bottom of the deck. If an event card is the same color as another card that is out on the board, we'll be placing an urgent marker on the existing card of that color. And if that emergency isn't solved before another placement of an urgent marker would be required, we fail that emergency and the crime track goes up by 1. So this gives us a very powerful ability to gauge the event cards that are coming into the queue. Our other officer is Sergeant Lisa Costello. She has the ability of 1 in investigation, 2 in arrest, and 1 in emergency. So she's stronger at arresting street punks. She also has the intuition ability, which will also allow her to decide whether the event card will be played or placed at the bottom of the deck. So that's very powerful. She's also thorough, and then when drawing investigation cards, as an action, she can choose not to reshuffle the stack, and that's also very important because as those investigation decks are reshuffled, you end up randomizing some of the evidence that you might need throughout the deck, whereas if you're going through a deck and they're placed at the bottom and you don't have to shuffle, you have more of a likely chance to get the evidence that you require. Now, in order to be able to arrest the murderer, we need to get an autopsy report, which will be the time of death and the manner of death. We're going to need 2 witness statements. We'll need the murder weapon, and we're going to need 6 pieces of crime scene evidence: blood splatter, shell casing, DNA trace, fingerprint, shoe print, and fibers. And once we have those on the board, if the murderer has not appeared on the board, which will occur on turn 16, we have all of this evidence prior to that, we're going to win the game immediately. But if he does appear on the board, we need to have all of this evidence found and located before we can attempt to arrest him. Now we have several problem areas on the board. We have rioting gangs at the morgue. Now in order for us to go to the morgue to be able to secure our autopsy report, we're going to have to solve this before we're going to be able to have access to the morgue. So that would be a top priority. Another priority is we have 3 punks in the bad hood of block 3. If another one appears there, they're going to form a gang. And when a gang comes on board, there's going to be some effect to us, either limiting our ability to investigate or a number of different things. So we don't want that to happen. So those are probably our top 2 priorities. Now while we're at the police station, we have the option of having either a marked or an unmarked squad. A marked squad allows us to move 3 streets per turn. An unmarked squad allows us to move 2 streets, but we get a benefit in having a more clandestine vehicle, allows us an extra draw when doing investigations. So whenever we leave the police station, we have the option of what style of car we're going to be taking. We'll begin with Detective James Kirkland. Now he's primarily geared towards investigation, but this rioting gang here is kind of an unusual situation. It's an emergency, but there are gang members that need to be arrested first before we can handle the emergency. So we would need to have more arrest capability at the beginning of this. Now, unfortunately, he only has a 1, but he does have an air support card. So I think what we'll do is I'm going to have Kirkland stay in a marked squad, and he's going to move 2 spaces. So he'll move onto Colfax Avenue, and he'll move in front of the morgue. He's also able to move the support vehicle 3 spaces, and he'll have that come along with him to aid him. All right, that is our move action. Now we get to perform a regular action. And we're going to attempt an arrest action. We want to arrest punks, the 3 of them that are rioting in front of the morgue. So we add up our dice pool. We determine how many dice we get. Kirkland has an arrest capability of 1, so he'll earn himself 1 die. The support vehicle will give him another die. And he's also going to possibly play that air support card, which will allow him some rerolls. He can reroll up to 3 dice. Now, there's a total of 3 punks in that area. So we need to have, in order to arrest those punks, we need to have a die roll of 3 or greater will arrest one of the punks. Now, before we attempt this arrest, we can also request support from some of the other officers. Sergeant Lisa Costello has a card, an event card, that she can play to help another officer. That's how these event cards work. It has actually 2 different ways to use that event card. The bottom of the card is used when you're the active officer. The icon in the upper right-hand corner is a fast action that can be used by others during your turn. So in this case, Sergeant Costello is going to play the request assistance card, and she's going to use it for that arrest capability. And that's going to give Detective Kirkland an additional die. So now he's going to have 3 dice to roll, and for every 3 or greater, he'll be able to arrest one of those punks. So we're going to roll the dice and see how we do. All right, we've rolled 2 3s. So that is going to allow us to arrest 2 of those 3 punks. So those 2 will go back into the supply. There's still 1 punk there, so we cannot attempt to solve that emergency until all the punks have been arrested. All right. Now we don't receive any reward. When we do arrests, we have to arrest 3 or more punks in a single action in order to receive a reward. Our rewards are measured in the game with donuts. These donut tokens are kind of like the currency in the game, and that allows us to add extra draws when doing investigations or roll extra dice when making arrests or handling emergencies. We can also use those to upgrade our characters with several upgrades when we're at the police station. So those are pretty valuable, but we only gain those donuts when we're told to by a card or we make an arrest of 3 or more punks. Step 3 of our turn now is we can draw a police card. So we'll draw a card, and that is the stakeout card. We can use that during our turn for the stakeout ability, or on another player's turn we can lend support to them, in this case during an arrest. So we'll put that card by the detective's hand, or his player card. The hand limit is 7 cards. You can have a total of 7 cards up to a point, and then after 7 you have to start discarding cards. All right, finally it is the draw event phase. Now Detective Kirkland has the intuition ability. We can examine the top card and then decide whether we want to play it, or we put it in the discard and then we have to take the next card. All right, the top card of the event deck is a blue card called Rioting Gang, and that's similar to the one we have here at the hospital, although it's at the hospital. Now currently we have a red and a yellow card out, so the blue card would not cause an urgency marker to be placed. But this is kind of a difficult card to handle, having 3 more punks on there. So I think what we'll do is I'm going to put that card at the bottom of the deck, and then we are going to redraw, and then we have to accept this card. This one is Officer Down. This will be happening at a bad hood with 2 or more punks. It says take 1 patrol officer from the stockpile or the board and place it officers down side up in a bad hood of your choice with 2 or more street punks. If not possible, discard this card and draw a new one. Until the street punks are removed from this bad hood, players may not draw police cards. Now that's pretty severe. All right, so we have to place an officer down on the board where there are at least 2 street punks. And I think we're going to place that in block 3. We have 3 punks on Colfax Avenue. So I'm going to place this officer down card near there, and then we're going to place an officer down in that hood, and that is going to remind us that we cannot draw any more police cards until that is dealt with. And that's going to end Kirkland's activation. We'll move on now to Lisa Costello. And I think since Officer Costello is good at making arrests, we're going to have her move to that area with the officer down and try to deal with those street punks before they become a gang. She's going to be in a marked squad. So she has a movement of 3. We'll move her 1 and 2 in front of that area. And then she's also going to request assistance from the support vehicle, and that can be called on during each turn of each individual officer's turn. So we'll have that move 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3, and that'll come to support her in making the arrest. So now we calculate our dice pool. Sergeant Costello has an arrest rating of 2, which is going to earn her 2 dice. She's getting the support of the support vehicle, which will give her an additional die. And she's going to request some support from another officer, and I think James Kirkland is going to play the stakeout card, which is going to award her an extra die. That'll give her a total of 4 dice for this arrest attempt. Now there's 3 punks in there, so we're going to be looking for successes of 3 or greater. We'll remove a punk. If we get no successes, our officer is involved in a on-duty injury and they'll go to the hospital. So we'll make this roll and see how we do. Okay, here is the roll. We're looking for 3s or greater. And mercifully, we have 1-3, so we have not failed the arrest. We can get rid of one of those street punks. It goes back into the supply. And that is going to bring Sergeant Costello's actions to a close. Now she gets to normally draw a police card, but because that officer down is there with that incident report, we're unable to draw police cards. So now we're going to go to our event card draw. The support card is discarded, and we'll get to look at the top card of the event deck and decide if we want to play that. She also has the intuition capability. Okay, this is an incident report crime wave. It will occur in the least of the bad hoods. Add 3 street punks to the bad hood with the lowest number of punks. In the case of a tie, current or active player chooses between the tied bad hoods. I think rather than placing more hoods on the board, we're going to place this card at the bottom of the deck, and we're going to draw a new one, and we're forced to have to deal with this, whatever it is. In this case, it is a car theft. It is going to occur on West Colfax Avenue. Place the red car on Colfax in the street space in front of the morgue, block 1. From now on, right after an event card is actually drawn, move the car 1 street space east. The car is removed when at least 2 players are on the same street space as the car, and the active player discards a police card as their action. All players on this street space receive a donut as a reward. All right, so we're going to place that red car on West Colfax. So that car theft occurs right where Detective Kirkland is, which is very interesting. Now, in order to solve this, we have to be able to get both investigators in the same space, and then they have to discard an event card. Now, unfortunately, Sergeant Costello does not have any event cards, and she can't draw any until she resolves that problem with the downed officer. So this is going to be somewhat problematic for us. So that is going to end Sergeant Costello's turn, and we'll move on to a new player turn for James Kirkland. Now, he is the first player. When his turn comes up, we move the calendar down 1 slot. So the calendar moves from turn 1 to turn 2. If that ever gets to turn 22 and we haven't arrested the murderer, we're going to lose. All right, Detective Kirkland is able to move if he chooses to. He's going to remain where he is, and he's going to try to deal with that rioting gang at the morgue. So he's going to make an arrest attempt on those gang members. It will award him 1 die for his normal ability, and that's all he's going to get. He could have the support vehicle move to his location. That would give him an extra 1, and I think we'll do that. We'll move the support vehicle from Colfax Avenue on 4th Street 1, 2, 3 spaces, and that's going to award Kirkland an extra die to handle this arrest that he's attempting to do. Now, on a natural roll of a 1 is always a failure. A natural roll of a 6 is always a success, no matter how many street punks are in the location. So we're going to get a total of 2 dice to roll, and we're looking basically for any result other than a 1. There's 1 punk in the area. So we'll make the roll on anything except Snake Eyes. We're going to arrest that last punk. And we've done it. We have a 2 and a 6. It's enough to arrest the last of the punks. That goes into the supply. And now we're able to eventually deal with that emergency now. Emergency is a difficulty of 4. So we're going to, when it comes time to handle an emergency, we'll check our emergency level on our player card. That'll tell us how many dice we can roll, and we'll roll those dice, and the highest result is compared to the difficulty on the emergency. If it's equal to or greater, we solve the emergency. All right, so that is Kirkland's actions. Normally he'd be entitled to drawing a police card, but because Sergeant Costello still has that officer down on Colfax there, we are unable to do that. So we are going to go to our event phase. And Detective Kirkland has intuition, so he can decide to play the card or put it on the bottom, and it is annual budget. The mayor and I have decided to allocate tax revenue to your department on a performance basis as follows. If the urgent token is not currently on the board, each officer may take a free donut or draw 2 police cards, keep one and put the other on the bottom of the deck. If it is on the board, then discard this card with no effect. Well, I think we will play that card. Right now the emergency marker is not out, so that's going to entitle each officer to getting a free donut. That's great. All right, so we have completed that event. It'll be discarded. And now that an event has been played, the car theft is going to move 1 block to the east. It'll move on Colfax. So that is still an active event. Now, if we don't stop that, the crime level is going to rise by 1, so we need to do that. That's going to finish Kirkland's turn. We'll move on to Sergeant Costello. All right, Sergeant Costello is up next. She's currently at the intersection of 4th and Colfax. She's dealing with that downed officer. So for her movement phase, she'll stay where she is. She's going to request the support vehicle move to her location. So that's going to move 1, 2, and 3. All right. And for her action, she's going to attempt a arrest action. So there's 2 punks there, and she's going to get the dice pool as follows. She's going to earn 2 dice for her normal arrest ability, and she'll gain 1 die for the support vehicle that's there. There's 2 punks there, so for every die roll of 2 or greater, she'll be able to make an arrest. So we'll make the roll and see what happens. All right, she rolls 2 1s and a 5, so she's made 1 arrest. But there's 1 punk remaining, so this is going to go into the supply, and we're still barred from drawing any police cards. This is real bad. We're clearing the punks, but not at a fast enough rate. All right, normally she would draw a police card. She can't do that with the officer down, so she's going to draw an event card, and with her intuition ability, we can decide whether or not we're going to keep it or not. The card is a gas leak. It's going to occur on West Calhoun. Until resolved, immediately after an event card is actually drawn, roll a die. If a 6 is rolled, the gas explodes, causing city crime to increase, a player to be sent to the hospital, but only if they were present, and the card is discarded right away. 2 players must be on the exact street space in West Calhoun to resolve the issue. If successful, each player in the street would gain a donut. I think we're going to discard that, and we're going to take our chances with the next card. So we'll put that into the bottom of the deck, and we'll have to accept this next card. This one is Smugglers. That's a blue card. Now, we don't have any blue cards on the board, so that's good. It's going to occur at a random warehouse, and it has a difficulty of 5. If an attempt to handle fails, the active player is sent to the hospital. Okay. All right, we'll make a roll and find out which warehouse this is going to occur at. It'll be the warehouse in Block 6. So we're at Block 6. It'll be the Acme warehouse, and that's where those smugglers are doing their operations. Okay, that is going to end Officer Costello's turn. We'll move on to James Kirkland. He's the first player, so we're going to be moving the calendar down 1 slot. So the calendar moves from turn 2 to turn 3, and unfortunately we have yet to have any of the evidence we need on our murder investigation board. We've been spending time dealing with these punks, so hopefully that will change. And with the drawing of that previous event card, the stolen car is going to move 1 more space towards East Colfax. If that goes off the board, we're going to fail that, and our crime track is going to rise. This is going to be tough. Until Costello solves that issue with the street punks, we won't get any police cards, and we need a police card to discard in order to solve that. So I think that might be a foregone conclusion. All right, Detective Kirkland still has to deal with the remnants of that rioting gang. Now this turns into an emergency. Those punks are gone, so we're going to need to roll at least a 4 or greater to solve that emergency. His capability with emergencies is only 1 die, so I think he's going to request support, and he'll move the support vehicle 3 spaces, 1, 2, and 3, and that's going to give him 2 dice to try to solve this emergency. So with 2 dice, we need to roll at least 1 4. And if we could solve this, that'll give us access to the morgue at least. Okay, here is our attempt at solving the rioting gang. And we did roll 1 4, so that will solve that rioting gang. And it says here that if we're successful, we can either look at the top card of the event deck, and we can examine 2 cards of any investigation deck that we choose. We can either place those cards at the top or bottom of the deck, so that's pretty good reward. I apologize, I had that out of frame. So that is our reward. We can examine the top card of the event deck. We'll do that and decide whether we want to put that at the top or bottom. That card is a traffic accident. I think we'll keep that one. That's relatively easy to deal with. So we'll put that back on the top of the deck. Then we can examine 2 cards from any of the investigation decks and then decide if we choose to want to keep those on top or put them on the bottom. Actually, we are required to, when we have that look at an investigation deck, we have to put 1 card on top and 1 on the bottom. So it gives us access to 2 cards, but 1 has to be placed back at the top. We'll check out the examined body deck at the morgue since we're there. So we can draw 2 cards, and one of them is the manner of death. So we're going to place that one on the top of the deck, and the other card we will place at the bottom of the deck. So that's starting to get some help for us at least. That's good. So this card is discarded. We've solved it. Once again, normally we'd be entitled to a police card, but we have a downed officer that is preventing that, so we will have to draw our event. And we already know the event is going to be a traffic accident that's going to occur at the intersection of 2nd and Vassal. So we'll place that traffic accident at 2nd and at the intersection of 2nd and Vassal. Now that, until that is cleared, that blocks us from being able to move through that intersection. Now, also 2 punks are going to be placed on the board, so we're going to roll 2d6 and place a punk in each of the indicated hoods, bad hoods I should say. So we'll roll the 2 dice, and we're going to have a punk in block 1 and block 5. So we'll take a punk out of the supply, place that in bad hood 1, and another in bad hood 5. Now, as we've drawn an event, the stolen car will proceed on its way, and the next event is going to exit the board, and our crime level is going to rise. Sergeant Costello is up next, and she's still dealing with those street punks, and I hope we can solve this turn. She's going to her vehicle will remain where it is. She's going to request a support vehicle that'll move 3 spaces to her location, and she's going to attempt an arrest of the last street punk. She has an arrest level of 2. She'll gain 1 for the support vehicle, and we're looking for anything other than 1s. Okay, here is the roll. All we need is 1 2 or greater. And finally we've done it. So the punk has been dealt with, goes back to the supply. This card is solved, and that's the officer down. Until the street punks are removed from the board, players may not draw police cards. So now that downed officer is done, he'll go back to the police station. We've solved that event, and we can now start drawing police cards, which is great. All right, and that's just what we're going to do. The next step is draw a police card, and she's going to gain officer assistance. We'll add that to her total cards. And now we have to draw an event card. And she has the intuition ability, and it's the escort van. Place the van in the street in front of the entrance to the pawn shop. The van must be escorted to Luna Avenue. Players may only move the van together with their own car on their turn. The same player does not have to escort the van all the way. Until the van arrives at Luna Avenue. When the van arrives at Luna Avenue, discard this card. Until then, no players may draw police cards. Well, we're going to put that at the bottom of the pile, and we'll draw a new one. We'll see what we get. This one we have to act on, and it is a blue emergency, violent customer at the cafe. All right. Now we already have a blue emergency on the board, so that one is going to become an urgent emergency. So we have a violent customer at the cafe, and that has unknown circumstances. So we're going to be placing an unknown circumstances token on that emergency. So we have an urgent emergency now. If another blue emergency comes up on the board and we haven't solved that one that is urgent with the smugglers, we'll fail that emergency and the crime track is going to rise by 1. Now, as we've drawn an event card, car theft is going to exit the map, and we've failed this, and it says, if the car is not stopped before it leaves East Colfax on the board, advance the city crime by 1 and remove the car. All right. So this event is failed. Car's removed. And we have to raise the crime level by 1. So the crime marker raises 1 spot closer towards our cop's fail condition. Not good. It's the end of the round. We'll move the calendar track. It is turn 4. Now, I'd like Detective Kirkland to do some investigating at the morgue and try to get that autopsy report, but we have this urgent emergency with the smugglers. So I think we're going to have him move down there and deal with that. So he is going to make a move, 1 and 2, and he's going to attempt to deal with those smugglers. Now, these smugglers have a difficulty of 5. So we need to roll at least 1 5 with all of our dice that we're going to get. Now, he has an ability to solve emergencies. He gets 1 dice. Now, he also has his SWAT commander ability. And it says on your turn, you may play 1 SWAT token to roll 2 extra dice on any emergency. So he's going to do that. We're going to have the SWAT team come in and assist us. So we'll be able to roll a total of 3 dice, and we need to get a 5 or greater. If we fail, the active player is going to be sent to the hospital, so not good. So we'll be rolling 3 dice, 2 for our SWAT team and 1 for Kirkland's innate ability. And we need a 5 or greater on one of the dice. Here is the roll. And we've done it. We've got a 6. So we were able to solve that, and that allows us a benefit of being able to examine the top card of the event deck and 2 cards of an investigation deck, which is great. So we have managed to solve the smuggler problem. So that's going to entitle us the ability to look at the top event card, and we'll do that. That is a red emergency. We currently have a red emergency on the board. So I think what we'll do is we'll place that at the bottom and just take our chances. The other one is the ability is to examine 2 cards of any investigation deck. And I think we'll look at the top of the interview witness deck. So we'll get 2 cards from there to look at. We have a witness statement, and we have nobody home. So we'll put the witness statement obviously on the top of the deck, and the nobody home will be put on the bottom. So that gives us access to one of the cards we need. That's good. Now, I have forgotten something. Whenever the crime track goes up or we receive a reward, that's when our expansions are going to kick in. We'll take care of that now. Now for the heat expansion, whenever the crime track goes up, we're going to draw a card from each deck of the heat cards, the specialists and the gear. And those are going to be placed at the police station, and those are available for us to purchase whenever we're there. Now, we did raise the crime track once, so we'll be drawing 1 card from each deck for that, and we'll take a look at those. One of them is a specialist street crime expert, Ivan Zdenka, and we have a gear card, and that is tear gas. And that says your vehicle counts as 2 when calculating support backup for other players who are trying to handle emergencies or make arrests, but not for investigation. So those cards will go at the police station, and we can purchase those. Now, this tear gas has a cost of 1 police card. The crime scene expert, street crime expert, is free. The other way those cards come into play is anytime an officer receives a donut as a reward. We have to roll a die. On a 1 to 4, nothing happens. On a 5, we can draw 1 card from either deck, and on a roll of a 6, we would draw 1 card from each deck. Now, as you remember, we received a donut. Each character received a donut earlier, so we should have made a roll for each of them, and we're going to do that right now. First roll is a 4, so nothing happens. Next roll is a 5, so 1 card will come out. We can draw from either deck, and I think we'll draw from the gear deck. And that card is revealed to be a megaphone that's free. When dealing with an urgent emergency, roll 1 extra die. Okay, so that's a pretty good card that will become available at the police station for purchase. Now, the other expansion is lying politicians, and we must draw a card whenever rewards are received for these actions: handling an emergency, performing an investigation, or arresting 3 or more punks, thus getting a donut. Now, we've solved already 2 emergencies: the smuggling operation and the rioting gang at the morgue. So we're going to have to draw 2 lying politician cards. Sometimes those are good, sometimes they're bad. And some are play immediately, others can be held for future. So here's the first of the lying politician cards. And this one is withholding. You're withholding evidence. Play this card to take the free action to remotely investigate just the bottom card of an investigation stack. Then reshuffle it if you wish. Remotely means that you do not move to the location of the deck to do this. Now, that has that symbol in the upper right-hand corner. That means that we can play that whenever we wish. So we'll give that one to Kirkland for him solving his smuggling operation. And we'll draw the next card. This one will be for Sergeant Costello. And this one is paperwork. The chief assigned you to paperwork duty. Since you're stuck doing this, play this card anytime to give your donuts to someone else. All right, and that is a play whenever you choose cards, so she'll keep that one. All right. All right, step 3 of Kirkland's turn is to draw a police card. So he'll draw a card, and he gains allocate resources card. All right. And now we have to draw an event, and we're able to use his intuition to see if we want to keep it or put it at the bottom of the deck. And that is a green card. That's a traffic accident. We already have a green card on the board, so that is going to cause an urgent emergency to occur at the traffic accident on 2nd and Vassal, the existing traffic accident. Well, I think we'll allow this card to play through. So, in this case, the traffic accident occurs at 4th and Calhoun, has a difficulty of 4, and 2 punks are going to be coming on the board. So we'll roll to place the punks. That'll be in bad hoods 1 and 2. All right, this is not good. We're going to gain a 4th punk in hood 1, and that's going to turn into a gang. So we're going to draw the top of the street gang card, and that is the Urban Angels. This gang interferes with the investigation. While this gang is present, players may not take the investigate action. Remove this card by arresting all street punks in this bad hood. Shuffle back into the gang deck. Okay, not good. And then we'll place another punk in bad hood 2. So there's 2 of them there now. All right. And that traffic accident will occur at 4th and Calhoun, so we'll place that there. And once again, that's going to block our movement through the area. When we're handling a traffic accident, any of the adjoining streets are considered to be adjacent to that, and we're able to handle that type of emergency from those locations. All right, that is going to complete Detective Kirkland's turn. We'll move on now to Sergeant Costello. She is on Colfax and 4th. Incidentally, that first green card that was on the board now becomes an urgent emergency. So if we get another condition where the urgent marker must be placed, we haven't solved this, the crime track is going to rise by 1, so that is definitely going to be a priority for us. And with the arrival of the Urban Angels street gang on 1st and Vassal, we're not able to do any investigation until that gets solved. So I think what we'll do is we'll have Sergeant Costello and the support vehicle move from Colfax and 4th to 2nd Street, and she'll handle that urgent traffic accident that's happening there. So she's going to move 1, 2, and 3 with the support vehicle, and that'll allow her to roll 2 dice for this emergency, 1 for herself, 1 for the support vehicle. And she can request assistance from another investigator. Unfortunately, Detective Kirkland does not have any cards, fast action cards, that will help her. So she'll be rolling 2 dice, and we're looking for a result of at least 4 to solve it. So we'll see if she can solve this traffic accident emergency. And she did. She's got a 6, and that's sufficient to solve the accident, removing the urgent marker. And for our bonus, we're going to gain a donut, which is great. So that'll gain her her 2nd donut. We'll add that to her player card. That's also going to make those other decks kick in, and we'll have to draw some cards for the 2 expansions. So she's going to have to draw a Lying Politicians card for the donut that she received. And that is a rookie mistake. Choose 1. Now this has to be played immediately. Add 3 punks at random. Advance the crime track 1 space, or advance the calendar track as follows. 1 or 2 player game, we'd have to advance that 4 spaces. Oh boy. This has to be played immediately, so we have to choose one of those. I think we're gonna move the crime track up 1. That seems to be the best for us. So I don't like doing it, but the crime track will move up 1. We still have some room left on that track. And that rise in the crime track will allow us to draw a card from each deck of the 2 heat decks, the gear and the specialists. The specialist card that is available at the police station is a crime analyst, Grant Massey. He's free. Once during the game, the crime analyst allows you to avoid the event card you just drew after reading it by placing it at the bottom of the stack and drawing one new one. The other is a gear card, and that is a requisition order for a shotgun. It's free. We get to roll 2 extra dice when we attempt to arrest a member of a street gang. That would be quite useful. So we'll place those for available for pickup at the station. All right. And also Sergeant Costello, for the heat rules, whenever they receive a donut, they roll a die. On a 1 to 4, nothing happens. A 5, we're able to draw 1 card. And on a 6, we're able to draw 2 cards. She rolled a 6, so we're able to draw 1 card from each of the decks and add those to the available specialists and gear. Okay, the first one is a gear card, and that is GPS. It costs 1 police card. After phase 3, the draw police card phase of your turn, move up to 2 extra street spaces. Okay, and the specialist is Gabriel Lim, gang suppression expert. It's free. Once during the game, the gang suppression expert will allow you to re-roll 1 die rolled by anyone in relation to a randomly placed punk. So it allows us a little control as to where those punks will be coming out. We'll place those cards at the police station and they would be available for purchase. And that's the end of the round. We'll advance the calendar marker. We're at turn 5. Now, until we can deal with the Urban Angels street gang, we're not going to be able to do any investigations, so that is definitely going to be our top priority now. And I think what we're going to do is Detective Kirkland is going to move into 1st Street and we'll attempt to try to deal with some of these punks. So he's going to move to 1st Street and he's going to move the support vehicle there. So we'll move that from 2nd Street 1 and 2 to 1st Street. That's going to give us a total of 2 dice, 1 for the support vehicle and 1 for Kirkland. Kirkland is going to call in requesting some support from the other officers, and Sergeant Costello is going to play the card Officer Assistance, and it's going to give an extra die for an arrest attempt. So we've got a total of 3 dice now. Now we're going to need to roll a 4 or greater in order to arrest 1 punk. So we would be able theoretically to arrest 3 of the 4 with this, but that's it. The gang will remain active until all those punks are arrested. So we'll make the roll and see how many we can arrest. We need 4s or greater. And we rolled no successes. All right, we're going to play this air support card from Detective Kirkland. It says, may be played at any time. Play this card after any player's die roll, even your own, to re-roll up to 3 dice of your choice. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to re-roll these 3 and hopefully we can get at least 1 4. If we don't, we're going to the hospital. And he failed. Oh. All right, well, we have failed in dealing with the Urban Angels. So these support cards are going to be discarded. And Detective Kirkland is going to go to the hospital. He has been wounded. So we move Detective Kirkland to the hospital entrance on Colfax, and he is at the hospital. Now, with our new hospital variant, we're going to make a die roll and see what the effects of that are. On a 1 to 4, he has to discard 2 event cards if possible. On a roll of 5, it's a moderate injury. He would have to discard, in addition to the 2 police cards, he would have to discard 1 upgrade that he might have. And on a roll of a 6, it's a severe injury, and he's going to lose a turn in addition to all of those things. So here is the roll. And of course, he rolled a 6, so he is severely injured. He's going to have to discard the 1 event card that he does have. That'll be discarded. And in addition, he's going to lose his turn. So we're going to place a no movement token on Kirkland's vehicle. Not good. Now, while at the hospital, we're unable to draw police cards. So his turn is going to end and we're going to make our event draw. Now, once we're in the hospital, none of our special abilities are available, so he will not have his intuition ability. We just have to make the draw now and this event will be played. And that is a pet gator released. It's at the intersection of 3rd and Colfax. It's a green card. Now we already have a green card on board. So we'll locate where 3rd and Colfax is. 3rd and Colfax is right here. So we'll place that card there. And it also says that 2 street punks are going to be coming out. So we'll be making 2d6 roll on to place those. Those will be placed in blocks 3 and 5. All right, so we'll place a street punk in block 3. Place one in block 3. And another one in Bad Hood 5. There's 2 of them there. Not good. And that's going to bring Detective Kirkland's turn to a close. We'll move on to Sergeant Costello. And incidentally, now that we've placed a second green card, an urgent marker is placed on the existing green emergency. That's at 4th and Calhoun. So if that urgent emergency goes unattended, the crime rate is going to rise. And Sergeant Costello, I think, is going to deal with, or try to deal with that street gang. We've got to get that solved. So she's going to move 1 and 2 to 1st Street. We've already got the support vehicle there. So she is going to she's going to attempt an arrest. So she gains 2 dice for her innate ability at arresting. She gains 1 for the support vehicle. And that's all we've got. So she's going to be rolling 3 dice, and we need to roll at least a 4 or greater to arrest 1 punk. If we fail to do that, she is also going to be at the hospital. So here is the roll. And she's got 2 successes, so we were able to arrest 2 street punks, which is great. Those are going to go into the supply. Now the gang is still going to remain there until we can arrest those other 2, but at least we've got a start on it now. Now it also lowers the success rate that we need. There's only 2 punks left, so on rolls of 2 or greater, we will be able to make an arrest of those gang members. So that's good. Okay, her next step is to draw a police card. That's step 3. She's going to gain the card Air Support, which is a good card. All right, we'll add that to her total. And now the event phase will occur. We'll draw an event card, and she does have the intuition ability. And that is a green emergency, a naked man at the intersection of 4th and Colfax. Well, we don't want to play that because that would fail the urgent emergency that we have on 4th and Calhoun at the moment. So we'll put that at the bottom of the deck, and we'll draw another one, and this one has to be played. And that is a red one. It's an escaped convict at a random apartment. We're going to roll a die, and that is a difficulty of 5. So we'll place that in a random apartment in the block indicated. And that is going to be in block 2. So that is going to be in the apartment building at block 2. And that is going to go where our witness interviews were occurring. Block 2. Apartment is the Furwood Apartments, so that is going to go there, and we can't do any investigating until that card is dealt with. Now that is the second red card on the board. That is going to actually, that's bad, because that is now becomes a urgent situation. We're going to lose some crime track here. We have an urgent marker on this green card, but now there was already a red that we did not deal with. So that urgent marker moves to the existing red emergency, the internet hacker, and this card has failed. That's going to raise the crime track by 1. So the crime track is going to move up another slot. 3 more slots and we're going to lose the game automatically. Now that the crime track advanced, with the heat expansion, we're able to draw 1 card from each deck of the specialists and the gear decks. So we'll see what we get available for us. And the first card is a first aid kit. It'll cost us 1 police card. When you have the first aid kit, you may play police cards even when some sort of special circumstance would otherwise prevent this, meaning gang card or event card. All right, and then we have a specialist, Roberta Peel, communications specialist. Once during the game, at the beginning of any player's turn, the communications specialist riding in your vehicle allows you to send any number of police vehicles back to the station. That cost is free. All right, we'll put those available at the Police Precinct. So that's going to bring the round to a close. The calendar marker moves to turn 6. When it becomes turn 16, the murderer is going to be placed on the board. It is now Detective Kirkland's turn. Now he is severely injured at the hospital. All we can do is remove the no movement marker from his vehicle and he's going to lose his turn. He can't draw any cards other than the event card. So he's going to draw an event card and none of his abilities are functional. So we get a street collapse at East Vassal Avenue. Place this card on the easternmost street space of Vassal Avenue in front of Jake's Pawn Shop. For the remainder of the game, all vehicles entering this street space must stop all movement for the turn. Fast response cards do not negate. All right. So we'll place that card in front of Jake's Pawn Shop. And that's going to force us to stop in that location. It's a restriction in the road area. It's going to slow us down. All right, that is going to end Detective Kirkland's turn. Next turn, he'll be able to be discharged from the hospital. So we'll move on now to Sergeant Costello. And I think she is going to remain where she is and try to deal with this street gang. So we're going to have her stay there with the support vehicle. She is going to attempt an arrest. She's going to gain 2 dice for her regular arrest ability, 1 for the support vehicle. She does have an air support card that she can play and that allows her to re-roll up to 3 dice if she needs to. So we'll see if we can make this arrest. Now there's 2 punks there, so we're going to need a results of 2 or greater to make the arrests. Here's the roll. And we've got 2 2s, so that will allow us to arrest 2 punks. The street gang has been defeated. That card will be shuffled back into the deck, and now we're able once again to do investigations if we can find the time. We'll shuffle that card into the street gang deck and see what happens. We don't get any reward for that. We only arrested 2 punks. If we were to arrest 3 or more, we would gain a donut. All right, our next part of the turn is to draw a police card. And that card is revealed to be Surveillance. Play this card to look at the top 2 cards of the event deck. Return 1 to the top and 1 to the bottom. All right, we'll keep that card for now. And now it is the event phase. Sergeant Costello is going to use her intuition. So here is the first card. You can keep it or put it to the bottom of the deck. It's another traffic accident. And there are already 1 green card on the board. So we don't want that to happen. If that gets placed, we would have to move the urgent marker, thus failing another urgent emergency. So we're going to place that at the bottom of the deck, and we'll draw another one, and this will have to be played. This one is a homicidal maniac incident report. It's at the intersection of 2nd and Colfax. So let's go there and we'll read what it's about. So So the homicidal maniac appears at the intersection of 2nd and Colfax. Let's see what that's all about. And that says, place this card representing the maniac on the board. Right after each player's movement phase, the maniac attempts to move via a die roll. And that's 1 to the north, 2 to the west, 3 to the south, 4 to the east. For 6, I'm having trouble reading that. Let me bring that a little closer to myself. And that says 1 to the north, 2 to the west, 3 to the south, 4 to the east. 5 or 6, reroll. Keep rolling till 1, 2, 3, or 4 results. Movement must occur if allowable. The maniac may only occupy intersections on the board. Furthermore, as he is on foot, he doesn't block anything, traffic, handling accidents, etc., and vice versa, except that he may not move into or past a space containing a police vehicle. To apprehend the maniac, the active player must be in the adjacent street space and must discard a donut as their action. Until this occurs, players shall not receive police cards for any reason. All right, so he's going to be moving to different intersections. So that's going to end the round, and we will advance the turn track. We're up to turn 7 now. Well, Detective Kirkland has been discharged from the hospital, so he's able to continue on with the normal turn now. He's already in Colfax here, so I think he's just going to remain there, and he'll attempt to deal with that emergency. This is going to be a tough one. His capability with emergencies is only a 1, and I'm not going to be able to get the support vehicle there, I don't believe. Let's see if we can. Yeah, we can. The support vehicle is on 1st Street, so that can move through the homicidal maniac's location to northern block on Colfax, and that is going to give us at least an extra support die. So Kirkland will attempt to handle that pet gator released. So he'll get a die for his own ability, 1 for the support vehicle, and we need to have one of the dice be a 4 or higher to solve that. All right. And we have a 4, so we have solved it. And it says, if successful, take the right to move to the police station right now, or take a donut. Well, I think it might not be a bad idea to move right to the police station, then starting the next turn, we can do some things there, possibly. Or we could take the donut. If we take the donut, then we're going to be having some extra cards come out on the board. I'm going to think about that. Yeah, if we take the donut, we're going to have to take a lying politician card, and I don't think we can really handle much more negative things at this point. So I think we're just going to solve this, and I think I will move to the police station. All right, Kirkland is at the police station now. We can either begin or end our turn at the police station. We're able to purchase any of those specialists or gear cards. So I think we'll take a look at that deck and see if there's anything we want. Now, we're able to hold a total of 2 gear and 2 specialist cards at any time. Now, he doesn't have any police cards at the moment. So I think what we will do is we're going to purchase some of these free cards. And I think I'm going to gain the gear cards Megaphone and Shotgun. Those we can keep in our squad. And then we're able to purchase 2 free specialist cards. And I think we're going to take the 2 cards, the Street Crime Expert and the Crime Analyst. The Street Crime Expert allows us once during the game. Street Crime Expert allows us to re-roll all the dice we just rolled in an arrest attempt action. And the crime analyst is, once during the game, the crime analyst allows you to avoid an event card you just drew after reading it by placing it at the bottom of the stack and drawing a new one. So that would kind of work in order with our intuition ability. It'll give us an extra draw basically in there. So we'll take those cards, those are all free. And now it's step 3, we're able to draw a police card, and he's going to gain a stakeout. All right, so we will add that to our hand, and now we have to do our event draw. Okay, he's going to use his intuition ability to start out with. This card is a blue card. It's a counterfeiter. Now we currently have a blue card on the board. There is a violent customer at the restaurant, so that would automatically move the urgent marker and thus failing another urgent emergency, raising the crime rate. So we're going to, I think, put that at the bottom and draw another card. This card is revealed to be a yellow card, harassing guest, and that's going to take place at the coffee shop. Has an unknown circumstance, and we currently have no yellow cards out, so that won't force a movement of the urgent marker. So we'll do that. It's going to be at the Sitz Coffee Shop in Block 6. So we'll place that card at the Sitz Coffee Shop, and that has an unknown circumstance, so we'll place one of those tokens on the card as well. All right. Now, as we conducted a move with Kirkland, we're going to have to roll a die and see where the homicidal maniac moves to. All right. Roll is a 6. On a result of 5 or 6, we have to keep rolling till we get a 1, 2, 3, or 4. 6 again. 5. A 6. Come on. 5. A 5. A 3. Okay, so 3 means it's going to move to the south. So that homicidal maniac will move to the next intersection to the south. It'll move down here at the intersection of 2nd and Vassal. And I just read that homicidal maniac card. We're not allowed to draw any police cards, so I'll have to return that card I just drew for Kirkland. We'll put that back into the deck. All right, now Costello is going to be up, and they're going to move. So I think what we're going to do is try to head them off. Costello is going to move 1 and 2 to Stickle Avenue. And I'll have to change the camera angle to show that. So that moved to Stickle Avenue. Now we know that the homicidal maniac is going to move, and I was going to try to anticipate its movement. We'll see if we're right. So every time we move, we have to roll a die and see where that maniac is going. So we have to kind of anticipate this thing. Okay, here's the roll. Gonna keep rolling till we get a 1 through 4. 2. A 2 means it's going to move to the west. So it is going to move to the intersection of Vassal and 1st. And we're not able to make an arrest attempt there. Not good. Well, the only action that we can take is to try to go after the thugs that are there. And the other option would be we can also, as an action, take a police card. That would be another operation for us that we can do rather than the arrest action. I think we'll do that. I'll take a police card instead. I can't, that's right, because until this occurs with the homicidal maniac, we cannot take any cards, police cards. So we'll have to do the arrest. So we will do that. We're going to get Costello has 2 dice for an arrest attempt. And all she needs is anything except 2 1s. And she rolled a 6, so that'll be enough to arrest the punk. At least clears 1 more off the board. And now she would normally be entitled to a police card, but we're not because of the homicidal maniac. So we will go to our event phase, and her intuition will kick in, and we'll see if we can avoid a problem. Okay, we've got vandals, and that would be another red card moving the urgent marker. So we'll pass on that one, and we'll draw another card. This one we have to play, and that's a green one. It's a traffic accident. There are currently no green cards on the board, so we are lucky. This is going to occur at First and Vassal. That's where the homicidal maniac is. And 2 street punks are going to be deployed to the board. So we'll roll 2 dice and place the punks. Both of them are going to go into the block 2. And unfortunately, I think that is going to create another gang. And it will. There are 2 there. We're going to be placing 2 more. And that'll form a gang. We'll draw the top card of the gang deck, and this time it is the East Siders. This gang knows how to recruit by pressuring and false promises. When an event card causes 1 or more street punks to be added to this gang's bad hood, add 1 extra. Remove this card by arresting all the street punks in the bad hood. Shuffle back into the gang deck. Okay. All right, so we have to place that traffic accident at First and Vassal. That's going to be here. So there's actually 2 cards there at the same intersection. I believe they can exist in the same spot because the homicidal maniac is apprehended by an active player in an adjacent street and discarding a donut. And then that would have to be done by, let's see if this is actually an action. Is that as an action? Active player must be adjacent street and must discard a donut as their action. Yeah, so you have to do, pick one or the other, I guess. Okay. All right, that is going to end the round. We'll move the calendar marker to turn 8. And I think we are going to end the video here. We'll pick back up next time where we'll hopefully complete the game. And we'll see what happens. So far, we have not collected anything to help us on our murder investigation board. And the crime track has already moved up 3 spaces. We've already have an urgent marker on Calhoun and 4th there. So it's a lot of stuff going on, but we've had a hard time finding the time to do our investigations. There's so much stuff happening. We've got gangs forming, traffic accidents occurring, and those urgent markers. So it's very difficult to devote time to doing the investigations that we need, but we'll need to do that. All right, I look forward to seeing you again for the second video in this series where we'll be playing Police Precinct. Thanks so much for joining me, and I hope to see you again soon. Have a nice evening.